Welcome back everyone to another Elder Scrolls Online video. Today is about the High Isle PTS with one of the new sets. Now, while this is designed for PvE and could still potentially change a hell of a lot along the way, this has developed a little bit of a problem. Now, the set we're looking at is this. This is the Whirl of Depths. This is from the new trial, and it gives you spell damage and weapon damage, spell damage and weapon damage again, a crit bonus if you have the perfected version, and of course, it's got Minor Slayer. Minor Slayer only applies to dungeons, arenas, and trials. Out of overland stuff, it doesn't apply to. But this will deal damage with a damage over time frost effect after you do a light attack. And this can only stick to one target at a time. Now, once the 8-second duration is over, it will then pop and make a whirlpool underneath the target for 6 seconds, doing frost damage, although it looks a bit like water. And this, again, will last 6 seconds on top of the 8 that you've already got. So we're looking at 14 seconds uptime there with an 18-second downtime, which means there's a 4-second gap. Now, this does develop a bit of a problem, but I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment. First of all, you're looking for this. As you can see on the target there, it's got that frost effect with the damage over time on it on the debuff timer above the target. Then once it runs out, then the water will spawn underneath, which is frost damage technically. Yes, of course it can crit. Yes, you can spec into that with nice bonuses from your sets and all that kind of stuff. We are not spec'd into damage on this particular character. It doesn't even have abilities on the back bar. Doesn't even have champion points in. This is just the effect of the set. Now, when you do spec into damage, that can be dramatic. It can hit incredibly hard. But it does also come with another problem, which is a benefit in some content, maybe a hindrance in others, but it's really dangerous in one particular area. So while I said this lasts for 8 seconds, and then when it runs out, the water lands on the ground, that does still apply in everyday situation. But when I say run out, if the enemy dies, it counts as running out, and the water pool will spawn anyway. So if you have an enemy there with 1k health, and you slap it with a light attack and it dies, boom, instant water pool. However, because the initial casting of it does start the cooldown for the timer, for the recasting cooldown, if you like, of course, even though it ran out and cast the water pool early, you still have to wait 18 seconds before you can apply it again. So in big trash pools, anything that dies is going to drop it on the ground and start doing damage and area of effect, which is a really big benefit. But if it drops, then everything dies, and then you want to apply it again, there is a gap. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? I mean, it's a bit tricky, and it'll just fire, and really fast pulls, you'll get the benefit of the AoE. Great, nice. There's a problem. There's a big problem, in fact. And the big problem is that if this runs out, it lands. Including if you cleanse it. So if this is against you, and you are in a big cluster of friends on maybe a battering ram in Cyrodiil, or maybe just a group, and you're in a corner, and you're in a bit of a brawl, if you put this effect on somebody in PvP and they cleanse, or they get purged by a friend, or they take a synergy and cleanse, or they're using Betty Netch from a warden or whatever, and they cleanse it, any cleanse at all, this will drop that on the ground, and all their mates are now stuck in it. No, it doesn't necessarily cause them a massive issue damage-wise, but it is still going to hurt them if you spec into it. And because it's frost damage, it can, of course, cause minor maim, which is a big, big problem. So they can't do damage, they are weakened, if you like, and they are stuck in a circle of dead. They have to move. You are forcing them to get out of the AoE. But what about if you want them to get stuck in it? This is where it gets really dangerous. So basically, if you have Celestrix, and you're familiar with this, you damage, big pop, big stun. Okay? Great. But this is still running. The stun has already run out, they're probably broken free, that wouldn't have affected them. But most people that end up getting hit by this, first of all, don't see it coming, and if they've got loads of damage over time on them already, they will hit cleanse. So what they do is they end up getting hit with this and don't know it's coming, cleanse, instantly get stunned, stuck in the water pool. That's a problem. And it gets even worse as well. Because if you have this set here, which I'm sure most people are familiar with, if you cleanse while this plague is on you, big boom, doing more damage the more enemies are around, the more friendly targets are around you, the more players, if you like. So again, when this goes off, it will escalate. When this goes off, it will stun. And when this goes off, if you're stuck in it still, or even if everyone else has took damage around you, it's a consistent dot on the ground to make the pressure even higher once this has already gone boom. So in most bomb situations, people tend to take loads and loads of damage and do one of two things. They either die or go very low health. With this being the one that's the kill shot, and this being the stun, they're CC'd, they've gone boom, and now they're stuck in damage over time when they're very, very low health, even if they survived. So this is pressure. And how this is applied is very, very simple. All you have to do is this. You've got a stun, you've got a ground-based area of effect if they cleanse it, and you've also got the big boom if they cleanse it as well. Now, this doesn't work against target dummies and all that kind of stuff. It does put the dot on them, but obviously because it can't cleanse, then it can't go big boom. But if a player does, there's a problem. And this is a prime example of this. As you can see here, we've got a glamorous assistant. Basically just cleansing the stuff that I'm putting on them. And even not spec'd into damage, it's causing a problem. Now, if that big cluster of skeletons was players, big boom, dot on the ground, big stun, not very nice. And also you have to consider the ability being used, which, as you can see here, is this one. This one is inevitable detonation. And as you can see here, if the bomb is dispelled or removed early, the explosion is triggered immediately. So it will go on the target, and over 4 seconds, it'll tick, 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 and then bang. But if they cleanse that, it's double boom. It's that and that for 2 big booms while stunned on the ground, stuck in a whirlpool. And all they have to do is try to save themselves. It's not very nice. So while this doesn't have a big, big bang at the end, it is going to be really, really nasty if people pair these up together, because while they're on the ground, then trying to recover and then find that healing button, they're taking damage the whole time. It's quite nasty. And this is without even considering spam and crush and shock or putting dots down or any of that stuff. It's just boom, stuck in a dot, ouch. Very, very nasty. It's designed for PvE, of course, but it's got PvP application if you're clever. The problem is, obviously, with the set is you won't get Minor Slayer in Cyrodiil or Battlegrounds or any of that stuff, but this will still fire. And it's bonkers. I could see that getting changed very, very quickly. So we will see what happens along the cycles of the remaining weeks for the PTS. We've got another 3 or 4, I think, before it's completely over. But it's pretty nasty. I can see them removing the idea of it being cleansed and removed. I think they'll just make it so that if it runs out on an enemy, then it will drop instead, which is a bit safer. They make it uncleansable, then that will probably be saved. But at the moment, it's quite nasty. It's not as aggressive as Vicious Death and all that kind of stuff, but it is going to be a contributing factor when it comes to big booms in cluster situations, because everyone always hangs around after that initial pop, and you've got extra damage under you. You don't need it. You don't need it at all. Nasty stuff. Anyway, people, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that was somewhat insightful. It's not a build as such, just an idea of how things can escalate quite dramatically if you play clever with certain sets. Anyway, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit the sub button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.